Welcome back. Are you looking at the points table? But interestingly, there's some drivers deciding to come into the pits now. As you see the leaders go around, Scott Pruitt has come into the pits. Now this is an interesting turnabout. He's in third position and deciding to come into the pits really quite early. Now this is a little bit of tactics perhaps going on here, Robin.
Yeah, one would expect them to do, I don't know, 36, 37 laps before they come into for their pit stop. But in fact, you can do 3 full runs and 1 slightly shorter run. And obviously what they're doing is doing their shorter run and taking on their full fuel load now, so that in fact they're not lost any time in the pit stop. This could be to greatly their advantage later in the race.
So Bobby Rahal stays out, but Scott Pruitt has come in. 1 or 2 others have come in as well. We're just looking at some of the drivers out of the race already. Adrian Fernandez, Dario Franchitti and Patrick Carpentier, all out as a result of the incident at the start of the race, which involved several cars. 1 or 2 other cars, but that did actually manage to get back out again. There's Gualter Salas, he's been into the pits as well. So things all changing around a little bit. But for Bobby Rahal, he looks extremely comfortable up front at the moment.
Yeah, probably most of the people are running a pattern of like 36, 36, 36 and 25 laps. And you see there people taking the advantage of doing their 25-lap run first of all. It means they may lose out if there's a yellow later on, but they could have a big advantage. Could well work their advantage. And 25 laps was about the first time you could do it, come in and get away with 3 more stops.
So that could take quite a while to resolve itself. The other problem, of course, though, is they run under yellow flags as much as we're seeing today. They may not even need to make 3 stops.
Absolutely.
So Bobby Rahal running around. There's Paul Jasper into the pits, the Rookie of the Year in the Atlantic Championship last year, who's doing a good job. He's made the step up from the Atlantic Series up to the #1, the Premier Series in the United States and elsewhere, as we see here in Brazil. And it really is a big step, but he's doing all right, doing a competent job. But there's the man who's done more than a competent job over many, many years. Got a total of 24 career victories behind him. He's into his 16th year now of IndyCar competition. That's quite a record, but he's always been up there. 3 times the champion, don't forget.
I mean, one thing that amazed me, just thinking about it on the train earlier here, was that I worked with Michael Andretti in his first 3 races in kart, and that was in '83. So this is his 15th year in Indy.
Not Michael, no, I was talking about Bobby there.
Yeah, I know you were, but I didn't say Michael. It struck me just how long some of these guys have been in it.
It is amazing.
Yeah, 15 years. Michael still seems like a young lad.
Well, of course, he started so young coming into the championship as part of the family tradition to come into the series so young. And a lot of his success happened very early. As you say, Michael's debut back in 1983 at Las Vegas. And his first victory coming a little while after that. His first win was back in 1986, one of the years that Bobby actually won the championship. But
yeah, so I remember that race in Las Vegas because Mario was racing. Mario was in his pod then, but Mario would come in for a pit stop and he'd be out of his car so quick and up to us. And how's Michael going? Michael did a very good job. He took to it like a duck to water. And of course he had that funny period. You know, undoubtedly he has the ability to be a top Formula 1 driver. He came over and had a very bad year. And just everything worked against it, some of his own faults, some not of his own making. And I think that set him back confidence-wise for a long time, but he's lost a lot of weight, got himself a very nice new young girlfriend, and he's very happy. He's also very pro-American. By that I don't mean he's anti-European, but he's a very nationalist or loyal or whatever you say, very, very pro-American, and therefore very happy to have an American car. It means a lot to him.
So Michael Andretti, yes, in the Swift chassis, the new car for this year. And what an impressive debut they had with that Swift chassis. It might not be working quite so well in the early stages of this race, as Andretti now runs in 5th place, but that win in Homestead, Robin, was quite something. I mean, you've built chassis over many years. You've built them for the customer market out here in America. You've then also built specialist cars for Formula 1. We'll come back to that in a moment, actually, because we're going to get the race underway again. So we'll come back to that, talk about the Swift chassis in a moment, because Bobby Rahal is now going on to start green flag racing once again as he pulls away immediately from Maurizio Gutermin, with Greg Moore there in 3rd place, but under pressure from Gilles de Ferran. Immediately de Ferran looking down the inside, but thinks better of it. If you're going to go alongside Greg Moore, you'd better be brave, because Greg Moore is extremely brave.
Yeah, we worked with him. He drove the Atlantic in our team, the Formula Atlantic in our team in the States in '95, and he is very, very good. And there's a Formula One driver in the future, and boy, is he brave. You look at him, he's a nice young guy, wears rimmed spectacles, but in a racing car, he's very fast and very brave, and a very tough racing driver. In many ways, like Jacques Villeneuve. And again, yet another Canadian driver, Tracy Villeneuve, Carpentier.
And Greg Moore, there he is, just ahead of us in Gilles de Ferran's car as we ride at the moment. As Gilles de Ferran looks for the opportunity to move up into third position. That is the battle for third place, as Rahal continues to lead from Gugelmin. And then there's the blue and white of Moore. Then the other car, the Valvoline car of Gilles de Ferran, and then that little gap back, and it looks as though Unser has got past Andretti now. Al Unser Jr. has moved up into fifth place, past Michael Andretti, and Paul Tracy is looking to do exactly the same thing as they come across start-finish to complete another lap. So where do you look next? Do you look at the battle between Moore and de Ferran, or do you look at the battle slightly further back between the black car of Andretti and Paul Tracy? It looked to me as though Paul Tracy was just pulling out, and I think Andretti is going to go another place down as the two Penske's make it past safely. And the Penske's now running in fifth and sixth places. Well, you've got to keep an eye on those Penske cars. They were running so well in Nazareth just 2 weeks ago on the oval track. Also moving up there, looked like it could have been Zanardi. Zanardi's moved up to ninth place. Jimmy Vasser is running in eighth position. Let's just take another look. That could have been Vasser actually going past Andretti. Yes, that's Vasser who's gone past Andretti, but right behind Andretti now is Alex Zanardi. From the back of the field, Michael Andretti having another go at getting past Jimmy Vasser. He's not going to give up that easily, he says. And watch him down into turn one. They're going to be on the brakes, late on the brakes, and Andretti trying to come back down the inside of Jimmy Vasser, but it doesn't happen for him. The car doesn't want to turn in as quick as Jimmy Vasser's car, and so Andretti has to settle to be in eighth position, and he's now got Zanardi and Mark Blundell bearing down on him. Zanardi in ninth, and Mark Blundell in 10th position.
Yeah, Andretti lost so much in that corner. It looks like Swift have perhaps got a bit of work to do on road courses. Gives encouragement. The two cars, obviously, that look like being the class today are the Reynard, which we come to expect. And it's good to see the Penske's coming back after a couple of, by their standards, relatively unsuccessful years.
Of course, as you say, it's more like a road course, this track, and they had some good results on the road courses last year. Remember, Little Al came very close to winning on one of the road courses last year until an engine failure put him out. The car seems to be working well in this sort of setup as well. As we just run through the order, Paul Jasper's back into the pits again. Obviously, he's got a recurrent problem with that car, and doesn't look as though he's going to have a very successful afternoons here. Gilles de Ferran now coming under increasing pressure from Al Unser Jr. The Penske is bearing down on the Reynard. It's a Reynard Honda versus the Penske Mercedes. Mercedes so delighted to have a victory after a long lean spell. That Nazareth win, important win for Penske, but an important win for Mercedes-Benz as well.
One thing that's interesting, another thing that's interesting, because we've got mixes of tyres, we've got mixes of chassis, we've got mixes of engines, is the Honda. The fastest Honda, I think, was 10th on the grid, whereas they've been felt to be the engine they had last year. And it may be again a characteristic of this track, because you need not just peak power, you need power over a wide band of revs, so you can get acceleration, and it doesn't seem that the Honda has that.
Hiro Matsushita came into the pits just a moment ago in the number 24 car, and the Toyota-powered machine, well, maybe he's got some sort of engine problems. They have had quite a few engine troubles with the Toyota-powered cars in recent times. So Matsushita coming into the pits fairly early on. Lap number 35 out of 133. Bobby Rahal leads the race from Maurizio Gugelmin, with Greg Moore next up. He's being chased by Gilles de Ferran and Al Unser Jr. in 5th place. Then Paul Tracy 6th, Jimmy Vasser 7th, Alex Zanardi in 8th place, Mark Blundell in 9th, and Michael Andretti has dropped right back to 10th place now.
Normally we'd begin to expect to see the cars come in for their first refueling and all the activity in the pits, but there were so many laps under the yellow when you use maybe half the fuel that you would normally do in a racing lap, that they're going to go way beyond the 36 or 40 laps, whatever it is they're going to do in the first run.
Watching on board from Gilles de Ferran, and you can see there's quite a lot of gear changing that goes on here. He's flat out through this kink, but watch him as he comes down a gear, down a gear, down a gear. Down 3 gears into that, the turn 4 corner. So taking that in 3rd gear, and then back up through the gears as he comes along start finish. Across the line then, Rahal, Gugelmin, Greg Moore, the top 3, and as you said, Robin, Rahal's really not pulling away now as Jasper makes yet another pit stop, and they're fiddling around at the back of the car, so whatever it is, it doesn't seem to be cured. Rahal, he had that initial advantage, but now it's not quite the same story.
No, there's 5 stone tyres behind him, and again, you know, they are very consistent for a run. But it'll be interesting, you know, maybe at the next pit stop when the Goodyear's gone Gugelmin's car, he'll be able to pull away again.
Max Papis is into the pits now. This may be a normal pit stop for Papis, just he's chimed it to come in on lap number 37, the Italian in the Reynard Toyota, who qualified quite well considering he has had fairly little experience of the oval tracks. 21st position for him. He was relatively happy with that. They didn't get an awful lot of chance to run new tyres on the car, so he was fairly happy. But in for his first pit stop, the car still running well. Rahal leads, Gugelmin second, Moore looking a little more aggressive in 3rd place. Greg Moore had a great run here last year. In fact, he was leading it right into the final stages of the race and only lost out at the end because of an electrical problem with 18 laps to go. Bitter disappointment for the Canadian last year here. And I just wonder, looking at him now, he's running so competitively in 3rd place. It could well be that Greg Moore is the one to watch in this race. Look at him just lining up Maurizio Gugelmin there. The blue and white car in 3rd place at the moment. He's had a bit of a disappointing season in the last 2 races. Had a good 2nd place at Surfers Paradise, 4th position in the Homestead race. But he needs to score some points, currently lying in 7th place in the championship.
Yeah, De Ferran's sort of working his way up very, very nicely there. So of course a little out. So, you know, provided there are not many more silly incidents, this could actually be an extremely good race, because you'd hate to pick any winner out of the first 6, 7 or 8. I think I've said that the Goodyears will be going on to Gugelmin's car at the pit stop. I think that occurred. There'll be a few contractual disputes. Thought he's running fast.
Well, it's not just the top 6 either, because don't forget Scott Pruitt made that early stop, and of the front runners, he was the main one to come in early. He's down in 12th place at the moment. But if things go his way, don't count him out at all. And remember, 2nd in the series at the moment.
I think you made a very good point there, actually, Ben. I think we should make a point of watching him, because watching Pruitt, not only see how he goes, but it'll show the instance of what actually happens when you take the advantage of doing refueling under a yellow.
Gilles de Ferran under pressure from Al Unser Jr. Very similar to the situation that we had in Nazareth a couple of weeks ago. These two were racing hard for many, many laps, with Al Unser eventually getting the advantage over Gilles de Ferran, and Al Unser Jr. finishing in 3rd. Gilles de Ferran was 4th in Nazareth, so both putting it together some points. Of course, Al Unser's had such a disappointing year up to then, but now he's just maybe beginning to really show his championship hopes, his championship contention, and running competitively at the moment in 5th position into the pits. One of the Toyota cars, that's PJ Jones in the number 98 car, and we're going to see a few more pit stops. I should think some of these leaders could do with a yellow now, and whenever you want a yellow flag, it just doesn't come, and they're going to have to stop under green flag racing conditions. By the looks of it, indeed, Al Unser Jr. is the first of the front runners of this group to come into the pits. Unser Jr. then makes his first pit stop, and the Penske crew amongst the best, of course. Lap number 41 just completed as Al Unser Jr. comes in, and Jimmy Vasser there also going well. He's now moved up to 6th position. Alex Zanardi has also come into the pits, so an interesting decision for Zanardi to come in. That drops him down the order for the moment, but we're going to see an awful lot of stops coming up here. And indeed, Jimmy Vasser now decides to come in. So from 6th place, Bobby Rahal's in. The race leader, Bobby Rahal, comes into the pits. That means that Maurizio Gugelmin takes over the lead of this race. And a good clean stop wanted from the Rahal crew as they go to work. The fuel going on board, the methanol being fed in through that top filler. And Bobby Rahal gets away cleanly. Looks like a pretty good stop for Bobby Rahal as he comes down the pit lane. Speed limit 60 miles an hour and then gets on the power as he comes back out. Gugelmin now leads from Greg Moore as Jimmy Vasser comes out of the pits on the rev limiter. Again on the speed limiter as he comes down the pit lane, over the line, and he can accelerate cleanly away. And now come the rest of them. Gugelmin, Moore, De Ferran and Paul Tracy all into the pits. It's going to be fascinating to see if they come out in the same order as they go in. Crew goes to work. Tyre changed.